Once again, we have a troubling text in the gospel. Christ just told us to make friends with dishonest wealth. He accuses us, right? He even tells us that, to paraphrase a little bit, we're dumb in comparison with people who are not religious, right? He called us, the children of light, less prudent than the unbeliever. But I love when the gospel becomes kind of opaque and murky. I love when the gospel becomes hard to understand, because throughout this week, I've received 2 emails, had 4 conversations in person, and a couple of phone calls ask me, Father, I'm leading my prayer group, Men of St. Joseph, Daughters of Anne, or St. Mary, or this group over there. I'm just reading it to prepare for Sunday. What does this mean? What does this gospel mean? And the reason that I love that is because it finally got Christians to talk about the gospel. I mean, how hard is it to get people to discuss the gospel outside of church? But here's the whole thing, is that this is what this gospel aims at. To make us trustworthy in the little things that don't really seem to matter. To become trustworthy in real treasure, in real reward. The first reading today explains the gospel, I think. I know. The first reading, hear it again from Amos. Amos, man, he's bringing it to the people. He is holding the mirror up for the people to see how wicked they have become. The prophet Amos says to the people, "Hear this, you who trample on the needy and destroy the poor of the land." And then he quotes their thoughts. When will the new moon be over, you ask, that we may sell our grain? Basically, when will this high holy day be finished, that we can go back to deception and fraud? When will this holy day finally end, that we can go back to our ways of wickedness and corruption? And the Sabbath. When will the Sabbath end, that we can finally again display the wheat? We will diminish the ephah, which is it's a currency. We'll diminish the value of the ephah and add to the shekel. They're playing with currency. They're trading stocks in a deceptive way to inflate the ones that they want to make money off of and devalue the ones that everyone else has. Those sins are not new. They're very ancient. And we will fix our scales for cheating, so that when we measure out a pound of flour, it's really only like 10 ounces. These are the thoughts that Amos is quoting back to his people. You're waiting for the holy day to be over. You're waiting for the Sabbath to end, that you can go back to cheating people. He continues, we will buy the lowly off with silver. Here's something shiny that has supposed value. Trust in this. This will keep the people kind of purchased over so that we can keep deceiving them, because we'll give them a little nugget every now and then to keep them on our side. And the poor will purchase them for a pair of sandals. We'll give them just what they need, sandals for their feet, to satiate them, to quiet them, so they don't fight us too much. And even the refuse of the wheat we will sell. You know, the part of the wheat, the shaft that's supposed to be burned away, we're going to sell it at a premium. And then Amos concludes, and here's the important line here. The Lord has sworn by the pride of Jacob, never will I forget a thing they have done. Dishonest wealth. They're not trustworthy in it. They've used their dishonest wealth to cheat, to steal, to manipulate, to defraud. So the story here, what does this gospel mean? Father, get to it already. This gospel, this parable of the rich man and the dishonest steward. The rich man is supposedly a crook. But so is his steward. The steward's basically a bookkeeper who's taking a little off the top. So of course he's getting fired. That's what a boss does. When you find an employee stealing from you, you get rid of that employee. You might even press legal charges. But knowing that he's about to be dismissed of the stewardship, he brings people in knowing that they've overpromised, right? They've been overcharged for what they've purchased. And so he takes what they've charged and he says, oh, you owe my master 100 measures of olive oil. He knows he really owes like 50 measures. So he's honest with dishonest wealth. He says, no, okay, I'll correct it. And the correction wins him favor of this customer. And you owe my master 100 cores of wheat. Here, you really only own 80. He's righting the wrong to win the favor of these people, so that when he is dismissed, he's welcomed into the houses of his master's customers. He's become kind of smart. He's not good, he's not holy, but he at least has figured out the game to be able to be successful in the world. And this again is where that line that the Lord sneaks in there hits me. And it should hit us in the gut. The children of this world are more prudent in dealing with their own generation than are the children of light. We, the children of light, we have the same access to the world's wisdom that anyone else has. We, the children of light, who have been baptized and received the wisdom of God, who have been imbued with the Holy Spirit, who have been enlightened with His grace, who have been confirmed in the sacrament and sealed with that Spirit of God, and received the gift of the virtues and the fruits of the Spirit. We, the children of light, we have access to the wisdom of the world. We can learn business. Yes, we have access to the world, and we can go and earn degrees or go and do an apprenticeship and learn trades, and we can figure out the way the world works. Yes, but we also have the wisdom of God that ought to be guiding us. But do we? Do we allow God's wisdom to actually guide us? Do we allow the faith to percolate every part of our beings? You know, I love the fact that people contacted me to ask about this gospel because it was so refreshing. It was so refreshing to hear people say, but what does this mean? And to wrestle with it and say, well, but I hear God saying this, and to wrestle and unpack what they hear in their prayer. It's so refreshing to have a conversation with a Christian that's actually a Christian conversation. I was at the courthouse the other day applying for my star ID thing, and the wait was forever, and the appointment system was broken, and they were mad that because we didn't have appointments, but we couldn't make appointments, and so everybody was mad. Everybody in the DMV was mad. And I'm sitting there in a cassock, because that's what I wear, trying to compose myself as I'm getting yelled at by all kinds of people. And this man, every time someone would walk out of the office, he would start pointing at them and screaming, I've been here for 3 hours, and blah, 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 blah. And he's just spitting and screaming and mad and how dare you, and this isn't right, and I deserve to be treated right now. I deserve to be served right now. I shouldn't have to wait for you. I'm just sitting there. I don't know that he saw me, because finally they called his name. He goes back, and as he passes me, he goes, oh, Father, excuse me. You know, I am a Christian. And then he kept walking. Are you sure you want to admit that you're a Christian right now? I mean, for the sake of everyone here, please don't say that out loud. Keep it to yourself. You're not representing us. As I'm sitting here reading my book, trying to compose myself, you're screaming. Don't tell anyone. And I finally get in, and I sit down at the desk, and the officer of the court is taking my information down, and she says, Father, can I vent? I guess. She said, Father, everyone hates me because I work at the courthouse. The government is inefficient. Why is anyone surprised by this? They have systems that I have to follow that don't work. And then people sit at my desk and scream at me, and I have to defend myself, which makes it take longer. She says, you know, the wait was 3 hours. It could have been 45 minutes if people stopped screaming at me. And they're screaming at me because it's taking so long, and it's taking so long because they're screaming at me. She said, that man in front of you, I can't believe he's a Christian. Breaks my heart to see these things happen. Because for the Christian, what should be on the tip of my tongue is not my complaint. but my excitement of what I see God doing in my life. You know, we're so quick to speak about things that don't matter or to complain. My goodness, the number of conversations I've had this week about the price of gasoline. I get it. Gas is expensive. You know how I know it? I pay for it. I put my credit card in the machine the same as anyone else. And there was a person who was so excited. The Shell station up on 59, it dropped from 324 to 319. And I thought about it. I said, that is kind of exciting. I get to save a whole 65 cents when I fill up next time. But why is that the stuff that permeates us? That's what we speak about. I get it, gas is expensive. I know grocery prices are high. I cut back myself. I know it. Right? Or the worst conversation. Can you believe this weather? Well, it's Alabama in September. It's hot. Thank God there's no hurricane. Or if a hurricane was going to hit. Father, can you believe this hurricane? Yes. That's where we live. But we're so inundated with these conversations that don't matter. A friend of mine this week called me up and, I asked that silly question that nobody actually wants the answer to. How are you? Nobody actually wants to hear how you are. And it floored me, his answer. He said, I'm doing really well. Listen to what God's been saying to me in my prayer. When I meditated on this scripture, listen to what God has pointed out to me. I'm doing really well because God's directing my life in a new path. Listen to these things that God has accomplished. Why is that not on the tip of our tongues as Christians? We've been entrusted with so much. And so often we squander it. When I ask you, how are you doing? I don't want a list of your complaints. I get it. People's bodies hurt. I get it. We get headaches. Gas is expensive. I get it. It's so humid and I just want fall to finally hit and stay here, not just for 2 days. Right? I'm right there with you. But instead of issuing a complaint, which speaking complaints is like looking into the darkness, covering my eyes and saying, why is everything so dark? But coming and saying, look, I'm struggling with this. That's different. Because that's sitting in the darkness looking for light. Not just sitting in the darkness waiting to say another thing about how dark it is. To search for the light. To say, how are you doing? And you say, I was reading the gospel this morning, which presupposes that we read the gospel. I was reading the gospel this morning, and this line stuck out to me. And I've been kind of ruminating on it all day. That's what it is to be a Christian and to take the value of the gospel and let it permeate me. Let it change me. Let it captivate me. The weather is going to be the weather. Gas prices are going to be the gas prices. The football team that won and the football team that lost, they'll play again. And they'll play very similar games next year and the year after. What I'm far more interested in is how is God moving in the lives of the people around me? How is God affecting the people next to me? What are you actually struggling with? Let me help you. Or may you help me to find God in the middle of the storm. How I wish that we Christians, and I'm guilty, how I wish that we Christians have the gospel on the tip of our tongue, not the frivolous wealth of the world that doesn't matter. How I wish that on the tip of our tongue was how we related to God and how God was moving and changing us. How I wish that Christians at the DMV just acted like Christians.